So ever since the initial gameplay reveal of Sonic Frontiers all the way back in June, it's safe to say that, well, things have definitely gotten better. That initial reveal was just terrible to say the least, and it was the main reason why so many people criticized Frontiers in the first place. But Sega has gradually dropped more gameplay and trailers since then, and things as of now are looking a whole lot better. This is beginning to look more and more like a good Sonic game, and that's honestly amazing. But just because things look good doesn't necessarily mean they will be good by any means. So today I'm going to answer the question that's been plaguing the Sonic community for over a year now: will Sonic Frontiers actually be good? Before we get on to the good stuff about Frontiers, I just want to go over the bad aspects of Frontiers, starting with the puzzles. Sonic is all about speed. It's what defines its character and ultimately the gameplay of every Sonic game. So when the first reveal showed these boring, slow, Sonic Boom looking puzzles, I was beyond skeptical. It seemed to me at least like these puzzles were just filler and nothing else. Now yeah, we've seen more puzzles as we've gotten more gameplay, and I'm not going to lie and say that they still look bad, because they really don't, but they still don't look very fun to me, and I feel like the puzzles are going to be the worst aspect of Sonic Frontiers, which actually may be a good thing for most people, but for me, I was pretty excited to use these puzzles, but they just do not look fun whatsoever. Next up, we have reused levels. I was beyond hyped for the cyberspace stages in Sonic Frontiers. I just imagined running around and everything's shape-shifting around you, that kind of thing. I imagined the cyberspace levels to be some of the best level design in the Sonic franchise, which isn't entirely wrong, I guess, but what do we get? Reused levels from previous Sonic games, and not just the level environments, but also the level designs are ripped from older Sonic games. Now, I do not necessarily think this is a lazy decision by any means, and because I'll just get to that later in the video when we talk about the positive, but still, I'm a little disappointed by cyberspace so far. Certain aspects of Sonic Frontiers still look pretty rough from a technical standpoint. The initial reveal was way worse, I'm going to be completely honest. Pop-in, animations, frame rate, just a lot of things made Frontiers look like a buggy mess at first, but things have definitely improved. The game looks way more polished now, with animations looking way more fluid. However, some of the animations still look pretty stiff and lifeless, like this supersonic animation for example. And then we have the world. I'm all for Sonic going for a more serious tone, but these worlds are just borderline generic. So far we've seen grass, desert, and mountain/volcano, which I'm all for environments being realistic, but this is just boring. When I think of Sonic environments, I think of cities, I think of floating islands and crap, not this. Now, am I with the people who say this looks too realistic for Sonic? Absolutely not. The quote-unquote look of Sonic has changed over the years, and this is just the next direction. But I can't help but realize that the Starfall Islands as of now just look lifeless, and it's not because they look realistic, it's just because they look bland. So those are pretty much the bad aspects of Sonic Frontiers so far. Let's get into the good stuff, starting with the controls. Now, I haven't gotten to experience Sonic Frontiers myself, but holy crap, people say this game feels amazing to control. Just looking at gameplay, you can tell that Sonic looks smooth and fluid to control. Now, he does look a little slow in what we've seen, but that's most likely because you can level up your speed in the game. But along with that, there are so many customizations for Sonic's controls, like turning, initial speed, and just a lot more. Now, this may just be for the demo, so people can experience the variety of ways Sonic controls in the 15-minute time frame, but we'll just have to wait and see if these things will be in the final game. Next up, we have the combat. There's not really much I have to say about the combat, except that it just looks fun, man. It does look a bit button mashy on the surface, but it has been confirmed that there is a skill tree where you can unlock so many different moves for Sonic. The Psy-Loop ability just looks like a lot of fun to use, and no, it's not just drawing circles. It looks really fun. And now we have the music. I hear a lot of people say that the music in Frontiers is just bad, and I don't really think that's the case whatsoever. I know we've only heard like 3 tracks officially so far, but the soundtrack has a lot of variety. The open world has a slow, somber piano, which I think is great. It really captures the tone of Frontiers. The 2 vocal themes we've heard are also pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of I'm Here. I mean, it serves as a good main theme, but Vandalize is just fantastic. And there have been some leaks of the cyberspace music, and it sounds really good. It sounds a lot like the Avatar stages from Forces, which was, in my opinion, the best part of the Sonic Forces OST. Now we have the story and the dialogue. While we don't know much about the story of Frontiers, we do know the people behind it, and we know they have past experience with making good Sonic stories. The same applies to the dialogue. We've heard a little bit of Sonic's dialogue, and it sounds really good. It sounds much more serious, not like the garbage we've been getting for the past decade. I'm just glad that the story is going to have a much more serious tone than what we've been getting in Sonic games for the past 10 years. I really miss stories like Unleashed in 06 and Black Knight that were lighthearted in some aspects, of course, but but overall had a very serious tone. And next up, we have the design. So we basically have a solid idea of how progression works in Frontiers, and it's good. It's really good. Basically, you need to defeat enemies and do puzzles to get portal gears, which unlock cyberspace levels, and doing cyberspace levels will give you the keys to unlock Chaos Emeralds, which will allow you to turn into Supersonic to defeat the final boss of the island. I think it's really cool how you become Supersonic at the end of each island, and it really makes me wonder if there's going to be a new form for the final boss of the game. The length of the game is also considerably longer than any Sonic game, really. Around 20 to 30 hours for story completion and double for 100%. That's great, man. I love that. We can finally say goodbye to 3-hour cash grabs. It just makes me happy. And finally, we have cyberspace. Now, I know many people have mixed opinions on cyberspace, and to be honest, so do I. Even though cyberspace is just reused level design and assets from older Sonic games, I really like how they treat it as the special stages of the game because they are completely optional. You can get vault keys by just defeating enemies, so that's cool. I also like how cyberspace also includes the fishing minigame with Big the Cat. It's just amazing. I think cyberspace is going to be a minor portion of the game, obviously, but I still think it's a cool concept. I'm just glad they're keeping the boost gameplay in the game somewhat, because that is my favorite style of Sonic gameplay. I don't care if that's a hot take, I love it. But that's going to go ahead and end it off for today's video, guys. So, will I think Sonic Frontiers will be good? Yeah, I think things are looking bright for this game. So far, from what we've seen, I think this game is generally going to get an 8 out of 10 from critics. I think this is going to be the savior of the Sonic franchise. I think Sonic is finally back, and that's honestly great to hear. But we'll just have to wait and see. We still got less than 2 months to go. It's going to be a pretty long wait, but I think it'll be worth it. But with that being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.